Welcome to this week's Silicon Slopes Live. We're joined by Carine Clark, who is a general partner at Pelion Venture Partners.
You're the first to tell everyone.
How's that title?
Well, I'm pretty excited because I do love Pelion. I've worked with them for years. Terrific partners there, and the chance to go and build something new with them, pretty exciting for me.
Yeah. We usually don't break news, but that's breaking news.
Breaking news. People keep asking me, what are you doing? Where are you going? Who are you working with? I have to be like the busiest unemployed person in the state of Utah.
Yeah.
But I've worked on this for a long time, and those partners are fantastic, good friends of mine, but it's going to be a fun gig.
Absolutely. It's as good as it gets. So I can attest to you being the busiest unemployed person because since March we've been on phone calls and Zoom calls almost weekly about something or another. And you also know that you're cool and respected in the community when random people ask me or others here, what's Carine going to do? So there's the answer.
Yeah, well, a lot of people have advice for you, at least for me. They say, hey, you should take this job. Hey, you should take this gig. Hey, they're looking for a CEO. You should do this. But none of them actually have skin in the game.
Yeah.
And so I've stayed underground pretty much, busy because I try to help everyone that calls me, entrepreneurs, the state, whoever.
Yeah.
But you have to decide what's best for you. And I think the best advice I got a while ago, I was talking with Ryan Smith, Qualtrics, right, superhero, Mr. Busiest Guy in Utah, and I had an opportunity that I was considering, and he's like, CC, you've already done it. You've already been a CEO. You serve on public boards. You're on all kinds of, like, why would you keep doing this? Why don't you do something special? Why don't you build something new?
Yeah.
Like, don't be afraid to go out there. Who cares what everybody thinks?
Right.
And he was right. And so after I decided to do this, I sent him a text, and I'm like, bro, you were right. Thank you for throwing me a brick.
There you go.
And he sent me a nice note back.
Very cool. Good friend to have. All right, so we'll hit on a few of those things, the boards and your experience. So a quick synopsis of your career that led you to being a general partner at Pelion.
Well, I think you don't just become a general partner. I think you have to have some scar tissue. And the partners at the firm right now, they've been at it for a very long time. They've been at Pelion for a long time. These are smart, capable guys. So I'm so humbled and honored to be part of that team. I've been an operator my whole life. So people might be surprised. They're like, oh, you're an operator. Like, why would you go and do this? I work with entrepreneurs all the time. I love startups. I love big companies. I love investing. And so I feel like I'm uniquely positioned to do a pretty good job. Not bragging, just saying this is what I love to do. It's a culmination of all the things I love to do. And I work really closely with the government, so a lot of private-public partnerships. And you know that in Utah last year we had $30.5 billion in exits. So it's kicking.
Yeah. There's a lot of money out there now.
So why not create work with Pelion to have an opportunity fund to take advantage of not only their pro rata rights, which they can't always take full advantage of, but to work with other firms that are coming into Utah when companies are just about to go public.
Yep. Seems like a good idea. So let's hit a little bit more on, you've worked for bigger enterprise as well as smaller startups, kind of ping pong, according to your LinkedIn, back and forth. And talk a little bit about, the obvious differences everybody knows, but you've done both several times. What are the nuances? What's similar? And then what's very different from startup to bigger enterprise?
Well, people have said to me, are you a big company girl or a small company girl? And if you look at my LinkedIn, I love both. And people have said to me, you're kind of the rare bird that can figure out how to thrive in either. So what's great about a startup is you get to know everyone, you get to feel all the pain, but you get to do a lot of different things, and you get to see your fingerprints on every part of the business, which is really cool. The good thing about working for a publicly traded company or big enterprise is that it's a massive platform. You get to do product launches at the Tesla factory. You get to meet Colin Powell. You get to work with Steve Jobs. I'm like Forrest Gump. I'm in all the pictures, me and Steve Jobs, Bill Gates. Jim Canavino, Eric Schmidt, Michael Dell, right? I got to meet all these guys early in my career and even later in my career. And you get to do that because you have a massive platform with a big company.
Yeah. And if you had to pick one, what do you prefer?
If I had to pick one, probably say the startup, because we have so many great entrepreneurs in Utah, and because I've worked at big companies, I can help them not look like a small company and work great with big companies, because those are great partnerships, a startup with a big company that can help drag them. But it's something to be said about knowing every single person in their family and being able to watch the company grow and through the whole succession. So I've watched some great companies through the years. Domo's an example, Qualtrics is an example, the Vivants. Like these are great entrepreneurs, and to watch them go from startup to the amazing success that they've had, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So you also probably add value and will for Pelion, because sometimes, every once in a while, one goes from a 10-person company to a 100-person to 200 fairly rapidly, and sometimes that entrepreneur just has like a 1,000-yard stare at employee 100, and they might not be the right fit for that, right? It's kind of rare that they go all the way.
Right.
And do you find that to be like a point where people reach out to you kind of to ask, like, scaling, should I stay in or give up my company? What would be best?
So I actually work with a lot of entrepreneurs that they want to scale, they want to do a great job, but they also know that it's past what they can do. And it's hard because it's their baby, their company. They made the sacrifices. They sold their wife's car, not their car, their wife's car. They, they made sacrifices, and now they've got to give up control. And so I have a lot of respect for the entrepreneur that knows the right time to do that. I have a lot of respect for those folks that would like to have a bigger pie for all their employees. I think for executives, for people like me who try to help these entrepreneurs, we want to see CEOs come into the company who are respectful of the founder, that they don't take away the spirit that founder created. When my first CEO gig, I went to Allegiance, and terrific founder Adam Edmonds, who's now the CEO of Entrada, I worked really hard to make sure that everyone knew this was still his company. And I wasn't sure how that was going to work, but it worked great because Adam's a great entrepreneur, and because he built that company on blood, sweat, and tears. And I think he did sell his wife's car. But he let me come in, and it was a great partnership. I was okay to lead from behind as often as I could, but he was the spiritual leader of that company, and it was the right thing to do to not displace him.
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe they sell their wife's car because their wife's cars are nicer.
Maybe. That's probably true.
That's in my
probably
case,
true.
I'd sell my wife's car. All right, so you've been involved in Utah tech and entrepreneurship for quite a while now. You've seen a shifting landscape, to say the least, and you've interacted with a lot of folks that are nice, mean, and everything in between. Let's talk a little bit. What's your favorite management style?
Well, I'm pretty simple in that I want to build a team that I trust, but I also am not afraid to verify. I want people on my team that are humble, hungry, smart about people. I really need fully formed adults, can't babysit. And I want my team to figure it out. I mean, too many times, I think we pave the jungle for our employees because we don't want them to make mistakes. We want them to do exactly what we tell them, and that's not me. I want them to get their machete and go and figure it out in the jungle and then teach me what they learned, because I need employees that are self-healing. I need employees that are not just resilient, but are anti-fragile, that can run through disruption and come out stronger. And that's the only way that it's going to work, because you know I'm a cancer survivor. I already know I'm going to die. So I need to leave a team that works beautifully without me. And so whenever I have the opportunity to lead a team, I always keep that in mind, that I don't want them to go through me. I want them to be great.
Yeah. And you as a learner, do you learn from, you obviously learn from watching and doing, just like everybody else, but do you read books? Do you have mentors that you can kind of draft on their management style. How have you developed yours?
So I'm a perennial student. I learn from everything and everyone. I mentioned we have great entrepreneurs, the founders of Silicon Slopes. These are great guys. I love these guys, and I've watched them. It hasn't been a straight line for them. You know, they struggled, they made sacrifices. People don't see that. They see the 8 billion overnight success, right? That's a reference to Qualtrics. They don't see the in the basement just grinding and grinding. And so I read everything. I don't believe everything I read. I always take nuggets from it. I'm a genuinely curious person, so I try to be teachable. But I've had some great mentors. Blake Moderzinski is a great mentor. He taught me venture early on, and I've been an operating partner for them for a long time. But to me, he's one of the best venture partners, not because I work for him now. I feel like I've always worked for him, but because he knows when he makes a mistake, he admits it. He's very good to entrepreneurs. He's made a lot of people a lot of money, and he's very disciplined in his approach. I love that. And I learned from a lot of folks, a lot of these CEOs. Aaron Sconard, he built that company from nothing and has taken it to not only public, but now to have another liquidity event. He has never had a job. That's been his job. Same with Josh James. I mean, these are guys who just figured it out. And they're pretty teachable, you guys, but they've also done some pretty remarkable things. So I learned from these guys.
Yeah, very cool. All right, we kind of alluded to it that you were on every committee that I was on, and plus more. And then you also sit on boards, nonprofit boards, for-profit boards, and you have for quite some time. So that's something that a lot of people don't get the chance to do, and you've done it in spades. What's that like to be on a board? What value do you try to add? And what advice do you have for folks that might be on the board in the future, or boards?
So the board gig is a good gig. It's a good gig if you understand and know the value that you're bringing to the board. Like, it should be really clear to you the responsibility that you have and the contribution that you make that's different than the other board members. I've learned that there's some terrible board members. They don't have any skin in the game. They don't care about the entrepreneur. And you've got some boards that are investors. It's like all kinds of folks. I've been on a lot of boards, and maybe because people need a girl and they call me, but I love working with the team to help them not run their company, but see themselves better and to help them visit their future. Like, imagine a world where I like to push them, but a good board member doesn't run the company. Like, I hate board meetings that are just rear view, blah, blah, blah. Let's show up and throw up. I'm more interested in contributing to a board discussion about a specific problem. And Josh James does a good job with this. I serve on the Domo board, and I love that board. It's a lot of fun. But Josh and his team have done a great job of having that company they're crushing it. But he manages the board very well. And he also, by the way, I think he has 50% women on his board, which in technology, unheard of. He understands what diversity can do for him.
Yeah. Absolutely. So now you're an investor, but you have been for quite some time with angel or seed, and there's all sorts of methodologies. Invest in the people, market size, product market fit. Where do you kind of land on your investments, and how do you kind of view that now that you're with Pelion?
So there's what Carine Clark does is her investments, and then there is this opportunity fund. So for me, I invest in the entrepreneur. I have to believe in the entrepreneur. Again, I want people who are humble, hungry, and smart about people. I have to love the tech, captivated by the tech. They're doing something clever. They're doing something differently. They're solving a problem. I don't necessarily worry about product market fit because I think that a lot of folks don't know that for a while. And I think early venture, you have to not be so worried about product market fit. I think you just really have to have a sense for the problem they're solving and can this entrepreneur do it. And I was an early investor in Podium. Yay, that's good. And so far, all my investments are still going concerns. Early investor in Aaron, which is an AI technology run by Linda Klug, great company. Video Peel. I went in later to Divvy, Domo. These are companies that I love. These entrepreneurs, I love the product. problem that they're solving, and thank goodness they have product market fit. For the later stage fund, the fund that I'm working on with Pelion, it's really for companies that are past that. They have product market fit. They're a going concern. They're 50 plus million in revenue. I mean, there's some very specific things that will match for that. And there's not another fund like it in Utah. And proud to say that it's a fund that'll be run by a woman. And under the Pelion flag, I think that's terrific.
Absolutely. So when is this going to start?
Well, good question, Garrett.
You got to get onboarded, right?
Yes, well,
Something. Get a key.
Yeah, yeah. I think in the springtime, summertime, you'll see that Pelion has great products that they offer. And so for those investors, professional investors that understand what they're doing, they already work with Pelion. So it'll just be like the regular cadence for the company. And there's a lot of great venture firms in Utah. I think Pelion's the biggest one. And they share a lot of fun.
Yeah, they've always been really great to us. And even when I was like just a snot-nosed student, I'd get emails back from the folks at Pelion. So they're very nice and kind.
Well, and they work with Cougar Capital. Right? They hire a lot of interns, and I work with the Wolverine Fund. So it's a nice way to get venture in the hands of young people, because we need more smart people that understand venture, and we need more women, more diverse folks in venture, because it's all better when that happens.
Yeah, different perspectives. All right, so for better or worse, you know a little bit about public policy and economic development through GOED and all these boards. So you've seen the transformation of Silicon Slopes as it pertains to the Wasatch Front, and even Logan and St. George. Most people just say, "Oh, great, let's keep our foot on the pedal." But there are certain downsides, right? And you get to live in both worlds with understanding what goes on the economic development side. What are just some of your thoughts of the growth? Do you have any concerns as a private citizen or as an investor with Silicon Slopes in 2021?
So I love Silicon Slopes, the organization. I love the concept. I love the founders. I love the entrepreneurs. And Silicon Slopes is an easy target for people, right? They poke about, oh, Silicon Slopes, these flat brim fellas. It's like, that's not fair. And we've worked really hard. So I'm the chair of the public policy, the Commons group, which Sunny Washington, thank goodness, is going to be driving that. And I just make sure that she has what she needs, really. We work really hard to make sure that there's a nice public-private partnership with our government, because Utah's a pretty great state. It's not just an accident that we had $30.5 billion in exits. When I tell people that, they're like, "Is that right? You mean 3.5 billion?" I'm like, "No, 30.5 billion."
There's some big ones.
Yeah, mergers, acquisitions, IPOs.
Yeah.
In 2020. And people were like, "Oh, that year sucked." Well, imagine when it doesn't. That didn't just happen overnight. That happened because of very intentional pedigree of folks that are trying to make sure that we have educated young people, that we have policy that helps us build companies, and that we want to attract other great companies to come to the state, that technology really will fuel our growth, and that every company will be a technology company. We're trying to do more to make sure that the benefits extend to rural Utah, because we've got to have fiber to every house. We need kids to understand computer science. We need them to be computational thinkers. And so I'm a pretty big defender of Silicon Slopes. Could be because I've been here from the start, and because I love this brotherhood and sisterhood. But I also see how fantastic this organization is. And kudos to your team, to Clint. Really, this organization, small but mighty. And to have 30,000 people show up for breakfast in January of 2020, pretty remarkable. Other states that I talk to, the other GOEDs, they're like, how can we have that? Could we have that, please? Like, how could we do that? And I'm like, look, we're the Beehive State. We're known for our productivity. We're explorers. We educate our young people. We put computers in their hand early. And we're not afraid to run to the fire. So I think that pretty proud of this organization. And the haters, they got to hate. Who cares?
Yeah, there'll always be those in every aspect of life. Well, cool. Very, very good. Thank you. All right, shifting gears a little bit. So you're 10 years cancer diagnosis?
9 years,
9 years
from diagnosis.
And you have some interesting thoughts to share with that I'll just let you kind of expound on.
So I was diagnosed with cancer, ovarian cancer, and cancer of the appendix. That's a horrible cancer. Like, to die from something you don't even need, that doesn't seem right. So I celebrate the anniversary of the diagnosis. People are like, that's weird. But for me, it's the day the world changed. And so thank goodness I'm still here. So happy about that. Next year's my 10-year anniversary. And I talk about it because I learned a ton from the cancer. Thankfully, I survived, but I learned so much. I'm a better human, better mom, better wife, better executive, better everything, because I already know I'm going to die. I think that's the gift that cancer gives you. And I think it's relevant because every single one of us will have a health scare, either ourselves or with someone we care about, someone we love, someone in our family. And you can't be prepared for it, but if you think about, the best way for me was to run right to it. The best thing for me was to run right through it. And because Silicon Slopes is this great community, these folks lifted me and carried me through 18 months of chemotherapy. I still have the notes that people sent to me. I still have a bracelet. I still have the mementos from that really horrible, awful time when my mentors showed up and said, dude, you can't die. Like, don't die. And it's good because every one of us will have something awful that we got to face. And if we can face it with guts and tenacity and grace, and when we see other people, that we can carry them for a while, that's what Silicon Slopes is about.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think a lot of people are happy that you licked it.
Yeah, so far.
All right, so a couple more questions, but you are in high demand from a lot of folks. We have an intern that before...
Because I'm free. That's why I'm in high demand.
Hopefully that goes down. But we had an intern that really just wanted to talk to you even before we jumped up on stage here. And that takes some skill and getting used to absorb all that, figure out where you can help, where you can't. And you have the personality where you don't like to not help. But how do you manage all that? Because there's a big demand.
Well, thank you for saying I'm in high demand. I really look for ways to say yes when I'm asked, and it's hard because I can't do everything. And a lot of people say no. So, and I love working with young people because if we can help them visit their future and they can leapfrog some of the mistakes that we made, then yay for the fabric of our community and yay for the state. But if we all did a better job of saying, okay, I'm going to mentor about 20 young people, either in my neighborhood, in my family, and that we said yes when people asked us to serve, when we said yes when people said, hey, can you help me with this? My resume? If you said yes, it's exhausting, but guess what? The payout is tremendous because I had one of my mentees who I've been helping interview for jobs. He sent me a text, I got a job at doTERRA. And he's a full stack web guy. And he said, and they're going to pay me a lot more than I would have asked for. But he has a high demand skill. And then I said, I'm so happy for you. He said, don't tell my parents because I haven't told them yet. At that moment, I felt like I had done something that wasn't particularly special, but it made me feel great that here's this young person who's starting off on his life and he's well on the way. Yeah. And maybe I helped him, maybe I didn't, but it made me feel like so great because once again, I know I'm going to die. And so when you die, you have to leave a legacy of talent that works beautifully without you. And this young kid, hopefully he does the same thing for someone else.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good trend to keep in continuation, and you get the happy endorphins when things like that happen. And they say you can't take money with you when you do die, so at least you can take
because the
that.
second wife's going to spend it, by the way. So
until somebody figures out you can take your wealth with you, but so far no good. All right, so 2020 is in the rearview mirror. What are you looking forward to most in 2021? It can be anything: vacation, work, winning the lottery, whatever it is.
Wow. Well, you have to remember, like, every day I'm here, it's like a bonus round. So I was okay with 2020. I had to speak at an event recently for a pretty large publicly traded company. And I said, people came out of the 2020 like it was such a painful beginning to the decade. But if you think about it, what if this was the beginning of the roaring 20s? Because think of the advancements in technology, just even around the virus. Think about the vaccine and the new RNA technology. I mean, it's like it's changed everything. And think about, we can make meat in a lab, so we really are bending biology to meet the needs of a growing population. And then you think about this last decade, the highest amount of technology investments in hardware, software, and in R&D surpassed just regular infrastructure from the past. And then you also think about the adoption of technologies faster than it's ever been. So telemedicine, Zoom, think about telework, financial payments. So it feels like we're going to have a lot of years of some pretty cool things, almost like after World War I, after the Spanish flu, after World War II. Like, it turns out that really hard things really do fuel some pretty cool things. So I'm thinking that it's going to be the roaring 20s, that there's going to continue to be great things happening, and especially in Utah, I feel like we're just barely getting to like the really good stuff. And I'm going to be a grandma this year. So
Congrats.
Just call me Gigi. That's my grandma's name, because if you don't pick it, it picks you.
There you go.
And this baby girl, is going to be the most spoilt little princess on the planet, but she's going to know how to code, and she's going to know how to stand up for herself.
Yeah, perfect. Congratulations. And it's easy to spoil little girls.
Oh, dude. I've
So
already built
easy.
that child a library.
Very cool. Well, congratulations on the new gig. And we're glad that you were kind enough to join us to go over it for the first time.
Well, thank you for letting me have a little bit of time. I do love this community. You know how I feel about you and the team. And to all those entrepreneurs out there, we got some pretty great things we got to do still.
All right. Cool. Thank you, Carine. Appreciate it.
Thank you.